Мы начали или нет? Well, hello everyone. Thank you for joining Education USA in Ukraine. Welcome to everybody who joins us for the first time. Welcome back to everyone who joins us not for the first time. My name is Katerina Alexandruk. I'm the outreach coordinator for the Education USA in Ukraine. And, traditionally we invite different speakers every Thursday who present on different topics related to higher education, universities in the United States. And today I have a very, let's say, new, unique topic because for me it was something unusual. It's called co-op system, co-op, a way of, let's say, financing of your studies in the United States. And I'm very pleased to introduce our speaker, Maria Mallory, who is the admission counselor of International Admission Department at the University of Cincinnati, and she will speak about this way of for the students to earn, let's say, full-time money while working for their field of study as a student, and on what is the co-op and how you can be beneficial to you, how you can be part of it. And she will also speak about the University of Cincinnati. And please feel free to ask your questions and put your questions in the chat box, and we will have time at the end of the presentation to address all of your questions. So Maria, the floor is yours. Welcome, welcome in Ukraine.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm pleased to be here today. Very excited to be talking about the University of Cincinnati and representing the University of Cincinnati, which is my alma mater. And I'm actually back at the university getting a master's degree as well, as I'm working in the International Admissions Department. So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But in general, we have at the university a really interesting and very unknown program called the Cooperative Education program, in which students can earn money while they're getting their degree. So I love talking about it because for some reason, it's just not very well known, but it is a really awesome program. So we are one of quite a few schools in the United States that do this, but we are top ranked for our co-op program and the founders of co-op. So happy to talk about UC, happy to talk about that. So let's just dive right in. As mentioned, my name is Maria Mallory. I'm an admissions counselor in international admissions, and so I work with students from the Ukraine as well as Central Asia, East Asia, Europe, Pakistan, all of the above. And me and my team really enjoy representing the international community and making sure that international students feel welcomed and that the application process goes the way that they need it to. So if you have any application questions, we can certainly talk about that as well at the end of this. On the screen is my email. If you guys want to email me after this presentation, if you have additional questions, I'm always available. So I'd love to have you jot that down and just take note of it. So as I've mentioned, I'm here representing the University of Cincinnati. So here at UC, we have what we call the Bearcat Promise. A bearcat is our mascot. It's a very weird animal. If you've never heard of it, I understand. But it's a cute little bear cat, I suppose. But our promise here at UC and under our Bearcat Promise is that we will let you graduate with a degree. Obviously, you're pursuing your undergraduate degree with us. A resume, which means that you'll have relevant work experience before you graduate, and then a plan for your future. So we make sure that you have the tools in your toolkit to graduate and be successful after graduation as well. So all of those three things combined are our Bearcat Promise to you as a student here at UC, and we ensure that you feel empowered to get all of those things and get on your way with your career. A little bit about our school in general. We have over 350 academic programs here at UC. You can do majors, you can do minors, double majors, all kinds of different things, and I'm sure that you'll find something that interests you. We are top ranked in a lot of our degrees, particularly our College of Engineering, our Conservatory of Music, so our performing arts and music programs, our design and architecture programs, our information technology program. Our College of Business is also highly ranked, so we do have a lot of really great options for students. With a 17-to-1 student to faculty ratio, it doesn't feel like it's too big of a school. Our total enrollment is over 46,000 students, so we do have a large university between 3 different campuses. We've got UC Main, as you can see in the photo. That's Main Street on a crazy day, you know, when everybody is just arriving after orientation and stuff. You know, with COVID, maybe it doesn't look exactly like that anymore, but that is what it will look like on our very main street of campus in the midst of our beautiful campus. And then we also have 2 regional campuses as well. So those are a little bit more affordable options. I can talk about those if anyone's interested in those. But I personally was a student on UC Main campus and really, really enjoyed the environment that gave to a student and their learning experience. We've got 13 different colleges, like I've mentioned. A couple of them are very top ranked. So we have all kinds of different things for students. If you don't know what you want to do when you come to the United States for your degree, we can absolutely get you on your way in the exploratory studies program, which means that you get to dabble in a lot of different tracks, essentially, so that you can see what it is that you really are passionate about and what you want to do for your career. You could also apply to be in the University Honors Program. Every major could potentially be an honors student, and so there's also perks to being an honors student here at UC. And we give you lots of learning resources as well. So you can obviously talk to your academic coaches. You know, there's career coaches, there's people that'll help you tweak your resume, there's people that'll help you with your interview skills, there's learning communities for your first year, so you can make friends and, you know, study together and learn together and all of these different things just to give you that sense of community here at UC. But like I've mentioned, one of the main things here at University of Cincinnati that we love to tout are our experience-based learning components. So 100% of our students at UC are going to do an experience-based learning component before they graduate. And this, of course, is going to be between clinicals, student teaching, performances, if you're in the College of Music, research, service learning, which is like volunteer work, capstone projects before you graduate, study abroad programs, and then, of course, as I've mentioned, cooperative education. So that's a big one here at UC as well. Some students opt in to do co-op and make money while they're still a student here at UC. And, you know, students like myself who weren't really in a co-op major, I still had a lot of fun by doing a study abroad experience, by doing a capstone project, by doing service learning. So you can participate in one or many of these experience-based learning components. But what it essentially means is that you go outside of the classroom to do things and learn while you're doing. So, you know, you're out, you're digging into the ground. If you're a horticulture major, you're learning about those plants that you're going to be interacting with. And, you know, that'll be a really important component of your degree because that's what you will be doing for your career. Or, you know, if you are a medical student, of course, you're going to have labs. And those are really important to your degree. But they're also, you know, you're not just sitting, getting lectured to by a teacher. You are doing things that are pertinent for your degree and pertinent for your education. So like I've mentioned, co-op is what we shorten this to, but cooperative education is a really awesome component here at UC for students to be able to integrate real-world practical experience into their curriculum. So typically, a co-op will be a 5-year program here at UC in which some semesters you're in classes, some semesters you're out in a job and you're doing that for the entire semester while earning money. And so that is, you know, applied back to your studies. And when you're in the classroom as well, that's applied to your co-op. So these are integrated together so that you are best equipped for the work world here in the United States or internationally. Could be back in Ukraine, you do a co-op and you get paid for that. And those credits will be applied back to your UC degree. So because we invented cooperative education in 1906 here at UC, we have a really, really long history with co-op and programs in different businesses, Fortune 500 companies throughout the world that love partnering with UC students in order to gain that experience and potentially network with those students for future jobs for them. We are #1 amongst all public universities in the United States for this cooperative education program, and then #3 nationally. So in combination with our affordable tuition, as opposed to Ivy League schools that do co-op or something, I would say that it is a really great option for students, especially financially minded students, like maybe students from the Ukraine who, along with your scholarships, you're looking for ways to offset those tuition costs, or you're looking for a school that, the tuition costs are not $50,000 a year, so that you can actually afford to live here and enjoy your time in the United States. So continuing to talk about co-op and explain co-op, cooperative education, like I said, often shortened to co-op, is a method of combining classroom-based education with paid practical work experience in a structured way in your curriculum. So it's always going to be related to the major that you've chosen. If you are a business student, you're not going to get a computer science co-op because that doesn't make sense for your curriculum, right? It's not what you're learning. But if you are that computer science student, you're going to get a computer science co-op that will then relate to your major, and it'll teach you those real world skills that will apply back to what it is that you were doing in the first place. So you graduate with relevant experience. The difference between a co-op and an internship, which is what people will always misconstrue. Internships are not always paid. Co-ops are always paid. So we make sure that when you get a co-op, this is not an unpaid internship. This is not just for experience. This is a paid opportunity. So you are working full time, typically, 40 hours a week for that semester. So it could be 4 months long. You're getting paid, perhaps on average, students will make $10,000 per co-op rotation. So for that semester, maybe you're not even paying housing costs. So you're not paying for housing, you're making $10,000, you're not paying tuition, and you're getting relevant work experience. So it's a really awesome program. But these are usually semester long, supervised by people at UC. So you work really closely with the faculty that you get to know and the people in your college, your academic advisors. They supervise what you do on your co-op so that everything will still tie back into what it is that you want to do. And they are assessed. So all of this, we prepare you for the co-op, we talk to you during your co-op, we reintroduce you back after your co-op. All of this is going to be structured. So we have a couple mandatory programs in which these are 5-year programs with this co-op integrated, like I've mentioned. All of our College of Engineering majors have mandatory co-ops. Typically, those students will do between 2 to 4 co-ops while they're in school. So your first year, it's all classes. Second year, you got a co-op. Then you're back in school. Then you're on a co-op. Then you're back in school, pretty much until you graduate. So you're just like, you're alternating between co-ops and school. Same with our design, architecture, art, and planning school. This is awesome. I've got two sisters who did the industrial design program with UC. Really, really awesome program in which you're making tangible goods. You might be working for Hasbro, toy company. You might be working for Nike, designing shoes. A lot of people will work for Tesla if they're in the College of Engineering, or BP, British Petroleum. So you have like these actual really awesome experiences that could really lead to a full-time job at those places. Same with information technology. That's also a mandatory program. And so the optional programs, we have tons of majors in our College of Business, and the College of Arts and Sciences is humongous. It has tons of different majors as well. So you can also get optional co-ops through those programs as well. It's just that they are not mandatory. So you don't have to do them in that program, but you're welcome to. And there's opportunities for you to do them if you want to. And like I've mentioned, $10,000 is our average student earning per co-op. Of course, you kind of have to look at it realistically and say, okay, my first work experience as a co-op student, I may not make as much money this first time, but once I get that experience and I have that under my belt and on my resume, then I can build on it, right? And you may get a lot more money per co-op as you start to get a little bit further in your degree. Also dependent on major. So perhaps a communications co-op may not pay as well as an engineering co-op, just based on the companies that you'd be working for. So just a bit a longer list of the programs of study that offer co-op. If you're like, oh, do you have civil engineering? Yes, like so here are all of our College of Engineering and Applied Science majors that do have that co-op component. And then our College of Design, Architecture, Art, and Planning majors. Information technology, there's a couple co-ops for graduate school. Obviously, I work with undergraduate students, so I'm not going to talk a whole lot about graduate studies, but I can always direct you guys if you have graduate questions. I can direct you to the right person for that. And then the optional co-ops with the communications degree and the College of Business degrees. So as I've mentioned, these are real world experiences with real companies. We work with over 1,500 companies in different countries, over 16 different countries. And it could be the Ukraine, like I've mentioned. It could be Singapore, Japan, Germany, literally anywhere. It could just be right here in Cincinnati, and it could be Boston, it could be Los Angeles or Miami. You know, it really just depends on where those job offers are and if you can secure that job offer. So a lot of our students previously have worked for BP, you know, Delta Airlines, Disney, Hasbro, Tesla, Procter & Gamble is headquartered here in Cincinnati. So tons of students get co-ops there. So there's also lots of opportunities for you guys, especially as international students. You know, the world is your oyster. Of course, you're going to already be abroad when you come to UC. You're going to be an international student who's already on a study abroad experience. However, maybe you don't want to only see Cincinnati when you come to the United States. Of course, you want to live in Chicago, perhaps. It's only 4 hours from Cincinnati, but that would be a great place to do a co-op, right? You can just live there for the semester and then come right back to Cincinnati, do a couple more classes, and then you can figure out your next co-op. You could do a co-op at the exact same place that you did it before. So it's really up to you. There's a lot of flexibility in your degree with this. So a couple questions that we get about co-ops and how they're different from internships. I'll just run through these quickly. The co-ops are built into our curriculum. So like I said, the predetermined credits are earned during those terms. So we will tell you, you know, how to make it work, and then we'll make it work for you. It's a little bit of a puzzle piece, but it's a lot more understood than an internship, which internships are kind of like at your own leisure and you can do it by yourself. You can set it up by yourself, but it's sort of on your own. But the co-ops, you know, you work a lot with your academic advisors. Like I said, they're always going to be paid experiences, always. Number 3, students will take the Introduction to Cooperative Education class before they begin working so that we can prepare you for not just the expectations of the program, but how to be a good employee. Some of our students, this is their first job, so maybe you just don't understand the work culture yet. So you're definitely getting prepared for those experiences whenever you're in those classes before you actually take on the first co-op. Number 4, all co-op students will work with dedicated faculty advisors. So like I said, we are very, very integrated and very involved in the process for you to have those co-ops and just to make sure that you're getting the goals that you want achieved and you're securing job placements as well. Number 5, students are not paying tuition rates when they're co-oping. So you are earning money only. Maybe you have a small co-op fee of around $400. That's all that you pay that semester. And then everything that you earn can be, you know, applied for future tuition, or just you can travel with that money, or you can put it away. It's really up to you what you do with that money. So that's what's nice, is that you are not paying tuition that semester. So if you think about our semesterly tuition rate, which is $13,000, if you're making an average of $10,000 or more per co-op, you can easily apply that money that you've made towards the next semester's tuition bill. And like that's, you know, before you even have scholarships applied. So a lot of our students don't even have to pay that $13,000 rate. So typically, co-op is a really great option for affordability. And then number 6, UC co-op students have earned approximately $28 million through their co-op work assignments last year. So this is not just a handful of students doing co-ops, like the lucky few. Everybody that is in those majors gets the chance to co-op, and collectively they earn a whole lot of money whenever they're on those co-op rotations. And then, like I've said, you know, on average per month, you might be making $1,700 to $2,500 per month. on your assignments. So that's a really great chunk of change. Honestly, that is a lot of money in the United States. You can absolutely afford to live here on that amount of money. So number 7, this applies to you guys a little bit more. So the International Co-op program is like an extension of our original co-op model. It just kind of expands it and makes it better for students who want to go into the global market. So students on the International Co-op will have 5 months of work experience outside of the United States. They can learn a language in preparation, and they have cultural studies before they go. So if you're going to be in Japan, you might be learning Japanese before you go, just so that you fit into that workforce a little bit better. And this is actually a really good way for you to save some of the OPT or CPT time that you have on your visa when you come to the United States. You can save it. You can go work outside of the United States so that it's not actually digging into the time that you have if you want to work after graduation in the United States. I have another slide a little bit about the visa process, and I can touch on that soon. A couple of the skills that you're going to build through the co-op program. Of course, you're going to graduate with up to 2 years of professional work experience before you even graduate. So you're building that resume before you've graduated. You have a leg up on all the students that really don't have that before they graduate. So they graduate with no work experience. They're less likely to be hired than you, who have graduated with 2 years of work experience. You will not just be, typing emails and filing for these companies. You will really actually be designing and leading your own projects. You are actually doing, the presentations, and you are empowered to lead in these opportunities. So it is really great for that portfolio. So you're discovering strengths that you didn't know you had. You're benefiting from these travel opportunities. You're getting to live all over the world if you would like to. And you're making relationships that might lead to job opportunities within that company that you want to work for. For instance, a student that I know very well from India, he just graduated. He had a co-op with Tesla, and now he's graduated and moving out there to work full-time for Tesla. So he forged those relationships, and now he's living his dream. He's moving out to California. So a sample timeline, you might be wondering, how do I graduate with 2 years of work experience if I'm only in school for 5 years? So if you take a look, the left business student this is an optional co-op experience. So they have opted into doing co-ops 3 times in a row in the spring. So they'll do, school, co-op, school, school, co-op, school, school, co-op, and then they graduate in 4 years. And the example engineering student, like I said, mandatory co-ops are 5-year programs. So, you can sort of just juxtapose those co-ops however you want to. You can do back-to-back co-ops like they did in year 4. You can do back-to-back-to-back co-ops if you want year 3 and 4. But basically, it's just up to you how you want your schedule to look. But that's just to give you an example of how many you can really fit in there if you would like to. And then opportunities for international students. I talked a little bit about visas, and I don't want to talk too much about visas because I'm not a visa officer. However, to maximize your work visa, like I've mentioned, it is recommended that international students go back abroad at least for 2 co-ops. So if you do 2 co-ops around the world, that will maximize the amount of time that you're allowed to work in the United States. So a lot of students, if they don't take any co-ops in the United States before they graduate, they can have that, I think it's called CPT time, for 2 years after they graduate. So if they graduated right now this spring, they'd have 2 years from now to work in the United States and potentially forge relationships to figure out a full-time position if they wanted to live and work here full-time. So it's a good way to segue into the United States if you'd like to. So what we do is we tell you, 2 co-ops out of, 4 perhaps could potentially just be around the world. So you could go to Canada, you could, like I said, go to Germany or something, and that will just help you to bide your time a little bit for your visas. In addition at UC, we've got other job opportunities. So if co-op just doesn't sound like your thing, or these majors don't really fit what it is that you're looking for here at UC, we also have a lot of opportunities for students to get jobs and to get that relevant work experience too as students, not through the co-op program. So we've got a Bearcat Promise career studio, which helps students to, for free, you can go in, you can talk to somebody to tweak your resume. Like I said, they can give you a professional headshot. You can ask them to prep your interview skills or something like that. So we give you those free resources to get you off the ground. We also have career fairs every semester here at UC. So they're divided, if you're in a technical field, there's a technical day. If you're in the College of Business, there's a business day. So you go on your designated day, there's all these people to talk to and shake hands with and ask about their company, and then you make those connections, you could potentially work for them. And international students can also get part-time jobs on campus, up to 20 hours a week. So if you look at the bottom photo, that is Duke. He was an international student ambassador for our office in admissions. So here he is just at the front desk, doing his thing. He would do some social media. He would do some, emails and talking to new students and just representing UC. And that was a good way for him to get 20 hours a week paid. And also to get that work experience as well. So offset tuition costs and also just prepare yourself for the work world. A lot of students will also work in the dormitories or in the rec center on campus or the food court or Starbucks or something. So there's a lot of opportunities in other offices as well. And of course, internships can be paid or unpaid. So that's something that you can look online. We've got a directory online with all these internships and co-op experiences that you can browse and apply for UC students. So whenever you're on there, you can look for internships and you can filter and look for paid or unpaid or whatever suits you in the internship world. So there's a lot of different ways that you can go about it. So if you're ready and you're really excited about this opportunity, just an example average starting salary of our Bearcats whenever they graduate is $43,000, over $43,000, and 94% of them will be related to the major that they've chosen. They'll be employed related to their major. So pretty much they're finding jobs in their field at a great starting salary and maybe hired by a ton of Fortune 500 companies. There's a lot that work in Cincinnati itself. There's a couple headquartered here, but there's a ton of Fortune 500 companies right here in Cincinnati that you can then find a job with after graduation. I was so sold on UC whenever I went on a campus tour, and it makes me so sad that our international students can't really see what that's all about before they come here. We do have one of the world's most beautiful campuses. It's been, given that accolade many, many years. It's a beautiful place. It's one large square city block with no major roads running through it. So it really is just students. You walk around, everything's about 10 minutes walk from dorm to, rec center or class or library. And it really is just a very peaceful, very beautiful place. And we do have a virtual tour, which I can link in the chat after this. I'd love for you guys to look through it. Telling you we've got one of the best campuses. It really sold me on UC. A little bit more about our tuition rates. I'm sure you're wondering what they might be. Around $28,000 is our tuition. And then of course, for your I-20, in order to get your visa, you have to prove that you have the funds for around $46,000 because that would include your health insurance and living expenses, which is a dormitory fee, which can range depending on what dorm you choose. But that's dormitory, access to all the facilities and everything on campus, and then also a meal plan, unlimited swipes into our dining halls. And so for that cost, that is before scholarships or anything, but that is fairly reasonable for a very high-ranked public university here in the United States. But in terms of our scholarships, I know that you're wondering what we've got. We do have designated international student scholarships, and the combined average amount is between $8,000 to $10,000. I know it says the range is between $1,000 to full ride, but typically, people will at least get $5,000 discounted from that tuition rate, taken out of that $28,000 per year. So every year it's reapplied. And I know it says full ride. I would not get your hopes up for a full ride. That is extremely, extremely rare. But we do our best to at least look at all of your qualifications and consider you for the highest amount that we can possibly give you. There's no extra application for these scholarships. If you just apply to UC and complete your application by the deadlines, we will consider you and we will give it to you whenever we release your admission decision. So if you're looking for fall of 2022, definitely get your materials and everything completed by December 1st for the best considerations. Of course, we have some flexibility with certain majors, but many of our competitive programs do close on December 1st. So you want to just apply early and make sure that you're getting it all good to go, wrap it up in a bow and send it. And then you're like coasting and you can kind of make your decision sometime in the spring. First year applicants are going to need to apply online on the Common App. Just whatever requirements are there. There's an essay, letter of recommendation, $100 application fee. And then you also need to send us your high school transcripts from a high school counselor. Preferably they can email it. That's fine. Those have to be in English, so you have to get them translated if they are not in English, and it's okay if they're not in English. Just go ahead and email me if you need some resources to get them translated. I'm happy to help. And then we also need a proof of math and English to be considered for scholarships. We definitely need an English test. It can be TOEFL, IELTS, Duolingo, SAT or ACT. Those are like the typical ones. Could be A-levels. We could waive it if you have A-levels as well. So just let us know if that's the situation. And then we also have a UC math placement test if you don't have an SAT or ACT to prove your math ability. And that's free and it's easy to sign up for. So just please email me if any of these situations you're confused about and you're like, well, I don't have a proof of math, so how do I get that scholarship? I'll send you a link. And then once again, just touching on, University of Cincinnati is in Cincinnati, Ohio, but it is like a really awesome place to live. I will attest to that. As somebody who moved away after graduation, I moved back to Cincinnati because it's extremely affordable. It's a great city for college graduates, and it's just a mid-sized city, so it's not too big, not too small. There's tons of stuff going on, but then there's also, you can find everything within 20 minutes drive. Like literally you can reach all parts of the city within 20 minutes if you want to. And I personally take a motor scooter to campus and then to downtown, and it only takes me 10 minutes either way from my house. So everything is very accessible and it is a really fun place to live. So thank you for attending and thank you for listening. I hope this has really cleared up what co-op and what University of Cincinnati can offer you. And if you have questions, of course, that's the general email, but I'm happy to take your questions now if anybody has chatted them.
Thank you, Maria. Great presentation and very interesting. Well, it was for me at least interesting to find out about co-ops. And I will give like a minute or two to our audience to ask questions if they have any. Please feel free about University of Cincinnati or about the co-op system. I do have a few questions for you about co-ops. So if you can tell more about how this process is happening, actually. I do understand that the freshmen, they don't have co-op option, but for the second year, are there how the placements happening? You mentioned so many wonderful companies. Do you have partner companies that you already have probably a relationship with, and then you you give the students options and they choose, or they just have the companies of their choice, they come to you and suggest those companies? Well, how the placement happening for the co-ops?
Yeah, that's a good question. So co-op is flexible in the way that it's run. We do have companies that will recurring hire students. So BP is one of them. I feel like students in chemical engineering will, time after time get co-ops at BP, mostly because they know our reputation at University of Cincinnati. We are preparing our co-op students very, very well, and they are very qualified students for those co-ops. So students will interview for co-ops. There's a ton of job placements on our interweb that will list. You can find them externally, but that's a really good place to find them. So a lot of those big companies will put their listings up there, and then they'll interview our students. And if they get them, they make an offer, and it's just like any normal job application where you will, talk about logistics and, if housing is included or what your rates are and all of these expectations. But also, even if we haven't partnered with that particular company before, students can absolutely come to us with an independent co-op idea. And they say, hey, I really want to work for this company in the Ukraine, hopefully to get my foot in the door and be there whenever I graduate. So they can definitely make those connections and propose the idea and work with our staff to make that a co-op experience for them. And a lot of students will do that internationally so they can get their foot in the door with the company that they want to be at.
Thank you so much for the details. So are there any requirements? I mean, are there any limitations, let's say, to students who want to participate in co-op, like from the university side? So because I understand that the experience they receive in the companies, it applies as the credits to their programs, right? The education. So are there any limitations, let's say, or like minimum requirements that students need to follow to be able to be a part of the co-op?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I'm not sure if I'm super well versed on how to answer it, but I would assume that these students need to keep their GPAs up before, because students, whether you're international or domestic, all take that first year of classes in preparation for their first co-op placements. So everyone needs to be a full year in school before they can start co-op. And during that time, we're preparing them, but we're also assessing how their GPA is and such. So I think if their GPA is a little too low, then that might disqualify them from opting into the program. They might need to get it up before they can start, so maybe they do an extra semester and then they start their co-op. But honestly, I don't think there's any additional requirements that students need to do. I'd say the only complication really is just working with our visa services to make sure that you, as an international student, are legally allowed to be at the company that you're at and, just notifying us like when you do get a co-op and stuff.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your answer. I basically see no questions. So I think this is something really new to our students. So they just need to digest first before they can ask a question. Thank you for so I will encourage everybody to write down the email, contact email, and probably ask you questions later, since this is something really new to our students and to myself also.
Right. I'm also going to just pop this in the chat, so you guys have like our direct website.
And you can always contact EducationUSA in Ukraine. We will always provide you the contact information for the University of Cincinnati.
Perfect.
Basically I had questions about the admission requirements, but you already told us everything basically about the minimum requirements and the opportunities. So I just encourage everybody to visit the university website and to contact Maria and just check on the programs available, which is like, I think many of them wonderful programs available in the university. So if you're just considering studying in the US, you should check in the University of Cincinnati. Absolutely. Thank you, Maria, for your time. Thank you for the information. And thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. Have a great rest of the day, great rest of the evening. And see you next week, and Maria, see you in our future events as well.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Please let me know.
Absolutely.
All right. Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Have a good one.